Another little overview of Jeremiah, just to help you out in understanding this book. I want you to have maximum comfort going through it as we take it apart chapter by chapter. There's major prophets in the Bible. There's 5 of them: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, and Daniel. Major does not mean they're more important. Major means they're bigger. Then there are minor prophets, and there are 12 of them, and they're called the 12 by the Jews: Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. They are called minor prophets because they're small. That's what major versus minor means. The time order repeats, so it shows the Lord confirming this organization of his 17 prophetical books. Time goes this way. Isaiah was first. Jeremiah was 100 years later. Jeremiah wrote Lamentations at the end after Jerusalem was destroyed. Ezekiel was pretty much a contemporary, but he was in Babylon as a captive. And then Daniel came later through the entire 70-year captivity. So the time order is Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, and then it starts all over again. That's a double arrow. Minor prophets first is Hosea, then Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, those 6, pretty much contemporaries, but in that order. Then these 3, then these are later. The time order is Isaiah to Daniel, and then it starts over again from Hosea to Malachi. Former versus latter. Right here is a division. This man, this prophet, refers to Jeremiah and the others as the former prophets, because the former is, this is a Bible word. If you read the book of Zechariah, 3 times he's going to refer to the former prophets. Former meant that they were on the other side of the destruction of Jerusalem. These 3 are on the regathered side out of Babylon for Jerusalem. So they're the latter prophets. With the destruction of Jerusalem and the 70-year captivity being the dividing line, right here. Contemporaries. I've highlighted it for you. Those 6 minor prophets, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, prophesied at the same time Isaiah was prophesying. Some of them to Judah, some of them to Israel, some of them to both. But because remember, the time goes down that way, then it starts over and comes down this way. Here are the contemporaries of Jeremiah, right here. Nahum, Habakkuk, both of them prophesied about the fall of Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire. This one was very much like Jeremiah, Zephaniah. I have given you this. I have highlighted in yellow Jeremiah, the prophet that we're studying right now, in the preaching, and the kings that he prophesied during their reign. Josiah, he began prophesying in the 13th year of his reign, remember? In the 13th year. Jehoahaz only lasted 3 months, so God doesn't even include him in Jeremiah 1:2. Jehoiakim lasted 11 years, and Zedekiah lasted 11 years. So 18 years under Josiah, 11 years under Jehoiakim, 11 years under Zedekiah, and you have the 40-year prophetic ministry of Jeremiah. You can see Nebuchadnezzar in here. The 4th year of Jehoiakim was the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar. Jeremiah 25:1 is one of the most important verses in the Bible for all chronological purposes, because it ties together the kings of Babylon with the kings of Judah and tells us the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar is the 4th year of Jehoiakim in one verse. Chronologers salivate for verses like that, to be able to tie the records together. They went to Babylon here. They came back 70 years later. Here are the 5 kings, but 2 of them were only 3 months, so they don't count in the mind of God in certain respects, though you will encounter them reading Kings, Chronicles, and Jeremiah. Here's a rough outline of the book. We covered this past Sunday, the introduction to the book and the ordination of Jeremiah. For the next 28 chapters, it's going to be warnings against Judah. Then we're going to get the blessing of new covenant prophecies right in the middle. Then there's going to be the fall of Judah and Jerusalem. Then the warnings to the neighboring nations of what God's going to do to them, including Babylon. And chapter 52 is different. It is a summary of these 2 chapters of the Bible, attached by some scribe that God has endorsed by having it in the Bible, and the Jewish scribes recognizing it as Scripture. The last verse of chapter 51 is, "Thus far the words of Jeremiah." This is a little appendix. Remember Jeremiah's ministry. He ministered 18 years under Josiah, 11 years under Jehoiakim, 11 years under Zedekiah. Where did this man come from? The people tried to make him king when Josiah was killed in battle by Pharaoh Necho. Pharaoh Necho made his way to Jerusalem and said, "No, I don't like that son. He's too young. I want it to be Jehoiakim." Pharaoh Necho put Jehoiakim on the throne. Then Jehoiakim died, and Nebuchadnezzar put Zedekiah on the throne. This man is the son of Jehoiakim right here. But Nebuchadnezzar didn't like him, and Nebuchadnezzar put Zedekiah on the throne. His name was Mattaniah, but he changed his name to Zedekiah. And that's how those 2 happened. You know, God's dealings in all the affairs of nations, including a king being put on a throne, thrown off 3 months later, another king replaces him, and then 2 generations of kings, another one thrown off the throne. God's in charge of all of it. There's Jeremiah's 40 years right there. Short timeline of Josiah. He began to reign at 8. He began to seek the Lord at age 16. He spent 4 years in that great ambition of seeking the Lord for his own heart. He began destroying all false religion when he was 20 years old. He held the greatest Passover ever in the 26th year. That's when he was destroying the altars in Israel, like the golden calf at Bethel. And he died fighting Necho at the age of 39. He only lived to be 39 because God took him out of this world to spare him, seeing the judgment he was going to bring on Judah. Josiah is an island of godliness in this family tree. His grandfather was the worst king that Judah ever had. His immediate father was just as bad, but only reigned for 2 years. His son Jehoahaz was bad like Dad's, Jehoiakim, and then Zedekiah was just like Jehoiakim, bad. And here we have in the middle, Josiah. He stood up for God against family, both before him and after him. Are you able to do that? Are you able to be different? Are you committed enough to be different? Who cares what other people do? What are you going to do with the Lord? You can be better than your parents. You can be better than your children. Commit. Be like Josiah. As you're reading along, we learned these places in our study of Isaiah a few years ago. The kingdom of Moab. Moab came out of Lot's daughter. So did Ammon. This is Syria up here. Damascus was the capital of Syria. It's called Aram here. Here's Edom. That came out of Ishmael, the Edomites. Esau, out of Esau. Here's Ishmael. This is Esau, the Edomites. Here's the Philistines over here. All of them are going to be mentioned. Now, the kingdom of Israel is in the north. It's made up of 10 tribes. The kingdom of Judah is in the south, and it's made up of 2 tribes. It's north and south. If an army comes, they got to come south from the north. It looks like this when we draw out from a bird's eye view. I'll send these slides out in the next couple of hours. Those different colored arrows reflect different things happening to Israel than to Judah. There's the rough outline. I want you to feel comfortable with Jeremiah. Be excited about it. We're going to get it. Jeremiah chapter 2 is going to be very creative in God warning and preaching against Judah for turning from him to false gods. He's going to appeal to them in Jeremiah chapter 3. We have 62 verses to cover on Sunday. We will be moving quickly. I hope you'll read them before you come on Sunday.